This is a guy that was looking like a top four, top five guy to start the season. He was right in that discussion with Cooper, with a Harper, with a Ace Bailey, with an Edgecombe. His play definitely went downhill a bit as Illinois got deeper into the conference season. But for my money in the draft, that a lot of people say is top heavy, is devoid of potential all-star talent. Once you get past that top three with Coop, Dillon, and Ace, this is a guy that I don't think should get outside of the top five because he does have a legitimate all-star, even all NBA ceiling from my vantage point. Kasparas Jakucionis basically averaged 15, 5, and 5 at Illinois his freshman year. Very impressive. And man, the first time that I watched him, I think early October, I was, oh, this is Luka. This is Luka. This is a 6'5 Luka wearing orange right now. And of course, that's a bit hyperbolic, but as I watched him more and more times, he was one of my favorite guys to watch in college basketball. It seemed a little bit less hyperbolic. For my money, in comparison to what some of these other guys are at in the draft, in terms of, like I said, his tier, I would have a little bit more confidence in Kasparas than a guy like VJ Edgecombe or even Trey Johnson, just because he's shown the ability to do it. He's shown the ability to be a 1A offensive engine in a way that neither one of those guys have done so in VJ's case or has done so efficiently, I believe, in Trey Johnson's case. So for Kasparas, he's a great pick and roll creator. He's equally adept at creating for himself. He can also create for others with kickouts, driving kicks, things like that. And the first thing that stood out to me, again, very Luka coded, the advanced step back and footwork that he uses to get into his off the dribble jumpers from three, despite not being a plus athlete. This is a guy that understands angles and separation very well. So whether it's a 1-2 step back, a tween cross step back, or when he gets into that, that mid-range area. So not super effective in the mid-range area, but a lot of the principle they use to create step backs and, 3-point separation uses in the mid-range as well. So I'm a fan of that. And it's also something very important for him that he has at this stage, but also to continue to develop because he is not a plus athlete. So the same way he's creating separation right now will be the same way he does it going forward. So he mentioned his pick and roll play, and I love the ability that he's equally, again, as adept as creating for others as he's creating for himself. And if we look at, these offensive engine guys that are in the league right now currently dominating, a Brunson, a SGA, Halliburton, although I think that he's definitely better at creating shots for himself than Halliburton ever was at this stage in either one of his years at Iowa State. But you see, again, if you look at the Final Four, what type of guards take you far? And I think that Kasparas perfectly fits that type of mold. Another thing, again, not being a great athlete, but shot basically 60% true shooting percentage at the rim. So he's a good finisher at the rim. Again, despite not being a plus athlete, uses the D cell, uses angles, has the ability to fit with either hand. And again, that's something that I think bodes really well for him. And you see a lot of these big jumbo creators, these European guys really. Jaeger Dimon. I must know why my dad around at Jaeger, and I love him as a prospect too. But they have this theoretical size, but they don't really play up to it in actuality. And I think that Kasparas is the other way to where you look at him. I thought he was like 6'6", 6'7". He's only 6'5", but he just really has a level of physicality in his game, again, that you see around the rim. Another thing about Kasparas, this is a guy, and a lot of these Euro guys come in with it, but college basketball is not the best competition he's faced. This is a guy that won a gold medal in the 23 Euro Championships with Lithuania for the U16 team. And again, another similarity to that boy out, not Dallas, out of LA, Luka. This is a guy that played for FC Barcelona, basically played for one of the best teams because I think Luka played for Real Madrid, if I'm not mistaken, but basically played for the best non-NBA, or one of the best non-NBA teams in the world as a teenager. So that's not nothing. Again, college basketball is not the high level of competition that he's seen, unlike 95% of the guys in the draft class. So I think the biggest reason why we saw him slide towards the end of the year, turnovers and efficiency with scoring. You know who else struggles with that? Basically every young guard in the NBA. So again, a lot of it was made about his assist to turnover ratio. Again, he ended with 4.5, 7 assists per game, over 3.5 turnovers per game. But, as a young guard, especially the amount of offensive load that he had to carry, because they had Will Riley, but for the most part, Yeah, it was him. It was the other little guard that came from Arizona. There wasn't a lot of offensive creation offenses be outside of Kasparas. So I don't really just peg that too much as a true inefficiency in his game. I mean, as he gets better, his role, he'll take on the workload that he had at Illinois, but I'm not too concerned with the turnovers or the lack of scoring efficiency. Again, with how much that he shouldered on his shoulders at his 1 year at IU. Defensively, that'll be a thing that a lot of people look at him and see. And it's definitely not a strong point in his game right now. But I think between his frame, this is a guy that's 6'5" and a solid 200, 210. And he's given effort. He has the ability to slide one or two slides on defense. Again, he's not a LeBaron Fallon. He's not a Cason Wallace, any of these lockdown defenders that we've seen previously. But I don't think that he's a sieve in the way that a guy like a Luka has been in the past.
I like Andrew Nemhard's defense, how he gives like 100% and active hands, just take like care about defense.
So you have that. I think you have a lot of offensive creation, and it won't be necessarily taken out because he's giving all the points back on the other end. So for me, like I said, a lot of people look at the draft class and see maybe 3 All-Stars, depending on how you feel about Ace Bailey. But I think Kasparas Jakucionis, depending on what team he goes to, a team like Toronto is almost dying for a guy to be their primary creator. Scotty Barnes, I love you. Brandon Ingram, I love you. But those are not primary creators for successful teams. I think, yes, Kasparas Jakucionis could be. So I got my comparisons down here for him. Again, I got a 6'5" Luka. I got a Tyrese Halliburton. I think Halle was a better passer, but Kasparas is an infinitely better offensive creator for himself. And I think the absolute floor for him is a guy like Tyus Jones, who we've seen be a top-level backup point guard and a starter for a decent amount of his career. So it's a situation where, like, I really did, man, you can watch his game. You can just see the basketball IQ, the touch, the ability to manipulate defenses. It kind of jumps off the screen from my perspective. So, yeah, I'm really high on this guy, and I think that this is a guy that we'll look up 2, 3, 4 years from now, and we'll wonder again, okay, outside of Coop, Dylan, Ace, how was this guy not a top 4, top 5 mix? And we'll see, we got a long time to the draft, but if he gets anywhere outside of 8, 9, I think that'll be there'll be some teams that really look at him going forward and be like, we missed on that. So I'm really excited about him, and I'm really just excited for his archetype because, again, he's not a Luke, he's not 6'8", 6'9", but these jumbo-sized on-ball guys have really been the mold that have pushed the league so far recently, and he kind of fits perfectly into that mold.